I got promoted in the Army and assigned to Area 51. I wasn't supposed to see what I saw. This might be the first and last time I ever post. If you're reading this, I'm either long gone or worse. I'm just a regular guy from North Carolina, not a genius, not a hero, just the son of a mechanic and a nurse. I enlisted when I was 19 because I didn't see another way. College wasn't in the cards, and the military felt like the only door open to me. I wanted structure, a paycheck, and, honestly, to run away from myself. I served for 5 years, kept my head down. I wasn't the best, but I was reliable, the kind of guy who followed orders, didn't screw around, and never asked questions. That's probably why they picked me. A quiet promotion came first, E6 Staff Sergeant. No ceremony, no speeches, just a firm handshake and a reassignment packet that would change my life forever. Classified reassignment. It was late afternoon. I just returned from PT when my CO, Captain Romero, called me into his office. The air felt weird, heavy. He handed me an unmarked envelope, sealed tight. He said, "This is for your eyes only." Inside was a single document with no heading, just a red clearance stamp, AO51 red. Below it, my orders. Report to a private airstrip in Nevada within 24 hours. No contact with family, no personal items. Absolute silence. I thought it was a joke, some messed up op or test. But the next morning, I was standing on a dark tarmac beside a gray, unmarked jet. 4 other soldiers stood near me. No insignias, no salutes, just blank expressions and the same white envelope in their hands. The pilot never said a word. We were told to put on black blindfolds before takeoff. That was my first glimpse of Area 51, through darkness. The place that doesn't exist. When the blindfold came off, it was night, moonlit, silent. We were in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by desert and barbed wire. A man in a black suit greeted us, not military, tall, pale, with a thin face that looked too still. He said, "Welcome to Facility 51/Delta. You've been selected for observation clearance. From this point on, all actions are recorded. No personal names. You will refer to each other by designation only." I became Echo 7. We were escorted through a long corridor that sloped downward. No windows. The lights were surgical white. The walls smooth metal, cold, clinical. Eventually, we were shown to our quarters. Individual rooms, bare, with only a bed, a toilet, and a monitor on the wall. No clocks, no mirrors. The screen turned on at exactly 0700 every morning with the same phrase, "Stand by for tasking." The routine. For the first few days, I was assigned to transport duties, moving sealed cargo containers from one sector to another. I never saw what was inside. The crates were uniform, silver, seamless, cold to the touch. But one of them, it felt warm. I swear, when I laid my hand on it, I felt breathing, slow, rhythmic, like something inside was sleeping. I didn't tell anyone. There was something about the base, the way people looked at you, or rather, didn't look. The cameras in every corner, the way silence felt mandatory. Then I noticed the others. Not all of them were soldiers. In the cafeteria, there were people who didn't belong. They wore uniforms, sure, but they moved wrong, too smoothly, perfect posture, blank expressions, and they didn't blink. Or if they did, it was mechanical, exactly every 6 seconds. One sat across from me on day 5. He looked normal enough until he spoke. "Do you enjoy your work here?" he asked, his voice perfectly flat. I didn't answer. I just got up and left. But that night, I had a nightmare. His face, his voice, and in the dream, He was standing over me while I slept. Descent. On day 6, I received new orders. This time the message was direct. Clearance upgrade level 6D. Report to shaft 3C at 3 a.m. I didn't sleep, just paced until it was time. The elevator at 3C wasn't like the others. It was guarded by 2 men in black, the same suits, the same cold faces. One of them handed me a new ID badge, no name, just a chip embedded in plastic. He scanned it and pressed a button that didn't exist before. 6D. The elevator dropped. Hard. My ears popped like on an airplane. 30 seconds passed. Then 60. Still descending. I started to feel sick. We were deep underground. When the doors finally opened, I stepped into a place that didn't feel like Earth anymore.
Arrival at level 6D. The first thing I noticed was the temperature. It wasn't just cold, it was unnatural. Like the air itself wasn't meant for humans. The lights down there had a faint green tint, buzzing softly like a swarm of flies in the distance. There was no signage, no exit signs, just a long corridor with metallic walls that shimmered slightly as you walked past, like they were reflecting something that wasn't visible to the eye. I walked in silence, flanked by the 2 suited men from the elevator. Their footsteps made no sound. Then we reached a black door, unlike any I'd seen in the facility. It didn't have a handle. One of the men pressed his palm to a flat panel, and it slid open sideways with a hiss. Inside was something else.
The observation room. The chamber was circular, dimly lit except for the center, a glass cube, about 3 meters tall. Inside that cube, a shadow, moving, slowly. I couldn't tell what it was, but it felt aware. A woman stood beside the glass, tablet in hand. She had white hair in a tight bun, thin glasses, and eyes that didn't look up when I entered. "Your Echo 7?" she asked, still typing. "Yes, ma'am. You'll be assisting me for the next 72 hours. Minimal interaction. 0 verbal engagement with the subject unless explicitly ordered. Understood?" I nodded. The shadow inside the cube moved again, closer this time. I swear it was watching us, even though it had no eyes. What was in the cube? It was not human, not an animal either. Somewhere between both, and yet neither. It stood upright, almost 7 feet tall, but its form shifted, like smoke in a glass bottle. Limbs would bend and blur, disappear and reform. It was constantly changing, but always centered. And it never made a sound, not one. Yet, somehow, I could feel its thoughts. Not words exactly, impressions. Hunger, loneliness, rage, and something else I couldn't name, something ancient. Dr. Voss, that was the woman's name, said it had been there since 1997. No known origin, no arrival record, just appeared inside the cube one morning after a power anomaly. I stared at her. "You're telling me it materialized here?" "Yes," she said flatly, "and it's been communicating with the others." "Others?" She didn't answer. Behind the mirror. After my shift, I wasn't sent back to quarters. Instead, I was redirected to a smaller hallway labeled only as T7 Mirror Observation. Inside, another room, one-way glass. On the other side, a lab, sterile white, tables, restraints, children's toys. And seated at a table, playing with colored blocks, was a little girl. She couldn't have been older than 6, but the way she moved was off, too precise. Her eyes never blinked.
Not once. Standing beside her was a man in military fatigues, frozen in place, staring at her like she was a bomb. Then she looked at the mirror, directly at me, and smiled. I stepped back. The lights flickered. I swear I heard her laugh, faint and high-pitched, like a tape recorder being played backwards. The monitor above me turned red. Error. Signal disturbance in Sector 6D. The briefing that changed everything. That night I was called into a private chamber. Just me and a man I'd never seen before. Tall, gray beard, eyes like drills. Echo 7, we have a problem. He pulled up a screen. It was a map of the facility. Blinking red zones were spreading outward like a virus. The entity you observed has been emitting something. Energy, maybe. Influence. We don't fully understand it, but personnel who remain near it too long begin to change. He showed me footage of a star sergeant, eyes bleeding, clawing at the walls, screaming, "It's inside my head." Another of a nurse drawing spirals over and over on her skin. Containment isn't working. We're moving to phase Omega. I didn't know what that meant yet, but I would find out. Soon. My disobedience. I wasn't supposed to return to the cube alone, but on day 8, I did. Something had been pulling me back, a whisper in my mind, soft and insistent, not malevolent, not yet, but curious. It wanted to be seen. So I waited until 0300, when the rotation changed. I still had my ID chip. The guards didn't check me. When I entered the chamber, it was dark. The cube was still there, but it was open. No alarms, no sound. I froze. Then I heard breathing behind me, slow, rhythmic. And then a voice, not spoken out loud, but pressed into my brain like a stamp. You see now.
After the breach. I didn't sleep after that night. Every monitor in my quarters blinked red and blue at intervals. The lights hummed with a low, pulsating rhythm that made my skull ache. When I finally emerged into the hallway, the facility was nearly empty. No staff, no guards, just silence and the sound of my own footsteps echoing like a war drum. I tried to contact command. No signal. Then, my door access chip stopped working. Even the auto locks didn't respond. Either I'd been locked out, or everything was failing. I found Dr. Voss 2 levels above mine. She was hunched over a console, feverishly typing commands into a terminal. "What the hell's going on?" I asked. She didn't turn around. "Protocol Omega has been overridden," she said quietly. "It chose you." "What did?" She turned then, and for the first time I saw fear in her eyes. "The Ark." Level X9. There was a part of the facility I had only heard about in passing. Level X9. No maps showed it, no orders ever involved it, but everyone knew it existed. A whispered myth, like a dark star in the center of a collapsing system. Dr. Voss handed me a keycard, hand-labeled, scuffed, and warm like it had been in her pocket too long. "You want answers? Go there," she whispered, "but don't let it speak for long." I didn't ask what she meant. I took the card and descended farther than I knew was possible. The elevator stopped at a point not on any schematic, and the doors opened into a narrow passage carved from black stone. No lights, just pulsing dim veins of red running along the walls, like blood beneath cracked skin. And at the end of the corridor, a door that breathed. The Ark. It wasn't a door in the traditional sense. It was alive, fleshy, fibrous, organic, pulsating slightly. There was no handle, just an indentation in the center, perfectly shaped like a human hand. Mine. I pressed my palm against it and it shuddered. Then it opened with a wet, tearing sound. What I saw inside changed everything. It was a chamber, enormous, cathedral-like, but not made by man. Not recently. In the center floated a massive spherical object suspended in midair, covered in shifting runes and symbols. It hummed softly, like a lullaby sung underwater. My ears bled. "You've finally come," it said. And the voice wasn't from the sphere, it was inside my skull. "You were chosen long before you were born." I dropped to my knees. "Why me?" "Because you still ask that question." Time breaks here. The Ark showed me things. Not with images, with understanding. A flood of truth that bypassed my senses and slammed straight into my mind. There are no aliens at Area 51. There never were. What the government found back in 1947 wasn't a spacecraft. It was a node, a fragment of something older than planets, hidden deep beneath Nevada's crust. When they started digging, they didn't realize they weren't exploring. They were awakening it. The creatures, the girl, the entity in the cube, they were echoes, projections, warnings, each one connected to the Ark like symptoms of a spreading virus. And now, it had reached me. Because my promotion wasn't a reward. It was a summoning. What I did. I stood before the Ark, light and sound warping around me. I saw faces, mine, duplicated, fractured across realities. I saw future versions of myself screaming, burning, becoming. And I saw a button. Buried in the panel beside me, a single kill switch. Dr. Voss had whispered it before I left. If you get the chance, end it before it speaks too long. But now, standing there, I hesitated. What if the Ark was right? What if everything I knew was a lie, and this thing had the answers humanity desperately needed? It didn't feel evil. It felt inevitable. But then I remembered the girl, the blood, the spirals, and I pressed the button. The shutdown. The Ark screamed, not audibly through my bones. My skin rippled. My eyes went white. The chamber cracked. The floating object began to fold inward on itself like a dying star. I blacked out. When I woke up, I was outside. Desert. Middle of the night. No facility in sight. Just sand, silence, and the scent of ozone in the air. There was a phone in my hand, not mine. No signal. The only file on it was this document. What you're reading now. Why I'm posting this. I don't know if they'll find me, or if they even still exist. I don't know if the Ark was truly destroyed, or if I just woke it up further. But if you're reading this, and you ever get invited to classified research duty in Nevada, run. It's not about aliens. It's not about technology. It's about something we were never meant to find. And now it's looking for the rest of you. God help us.